Mr. Zhu, welcome to CGTN.
Thank you for having me.
This year is a big topic, technology and its impact on economy and society. What do you think development of AI and the new technology is going to give us more engines for growth?
Yeah, I mean, the artificial intelligence technology is going to change almost everything, right? From production, manufacturing to service, and it will boost the productivity. I think those are most important things. But meanwhile, we will see it will also have impact on the social policy. For example, income distribution, and for example, the job, for example, education. So, and technology advancing, and also it's a big issue here in the title of a fourth industrial revolution. It's just a big global debate.
But the thing is, China is looking at those new technologies. Will they become the engine of China's economic growth? Because China really is searching for a possibility of growth. Where does it come from?
I think so. And China has a huge manufacturing. Today, Chinese manufacturing size is a combined United States and Japan's total manufacturing. So manufacturing 2025, the Chinese blueprint, is very much depends on this artificial intelligence and technologies. So I would say the artificial intelligence, the automations, and more productivity increase, efficiency will drive the Chinese growth in the future.
The debate about China's economy is always the center of topic in recent years when it comes to World Economic Forum here in Davos. But the question is, will China's model be sustainable? China has been talking about these models. It does not want to export the models, but yet, will this model be sustainable for the future growth?
Well, that's a big issue. You're right, it has been debated in Davos for years, right? But the loss is very good. China had a 6.9% GDP growth rate. It's the first time, and the growth picked up since 2011. I mean, since 2011, the growth is always on downside. So there's a lot of suspicious about whether China will be able to maintain strong growth. But last year, 6.9 gave the whole world a big answer. Yes, China will be able to maintain a strong growth. So that's the way I think the world looking into it today.
But there are a lot of debates about whether the numbers are correct or not. Particularly, you probably have heard, Professor Zhu, that recently the China's Statistics Bureau also talked about that the local number GDPs are not necessarily accurate, even though they say there are measures being taken that already get rid of the negative impact of those numbers when it comes to national GDP.
Yeah, we heard even the local authority like Jilin, like Liaoning, like Inner Mongolia, right, talk about the GDP growth number is not accurate. They're going to adjust the downside.
The local ones.
Yeah, local ones. But I don't see where impact the China nationwide statistics. Because China have two systems actually. One is the number up down from the localities, but another one, the Statistics Bureau have their own survey teams. They go down, do the samples, to figure it out. So in the past few years, what we observe is if we add all the local number together, the growth is much, much bigger than the growth number Chinese authority reported. So in that case, they take the same inflation of the statistics already. So I don't think it will have an overall impact on the national growth number.
The snow is getting really big here
in
Davos. Yes. Unprecedented, shall we say.
That's also very true, yeah. And I never seen the big snow in the past 10 years. I have been here for 20 years.
Right. This also, in a way, reflects the drama that we have also in the world when it comes to the global governance, when it comes to the center spirit of how to run a country, whether it's a country first or has to be with global spirit. So, Mr. Zhu, President Trump of the United States is going to come, if the plan still works.
Hopefully.
How do you see that is likely to have an impact on the discussion here in Davos? We remember last year it was Chinese President Xi Jinping.
Yeah, I think President Xi Jinping did a fantastic talk, I mean, to the whole world about China's views of globalization, and made it very clear China support globalization, will continue to support. Even a year on today, I landed in Davos. So people from me still talk about Xi Jinping's talk last year. So impact remains. I think this is a really big talk. Now this year, Trump is come, so people will see what he's going to talk. Washington shut down in the past 2 days. Now Senate just vote, reopen the government, but uncertainty remains. On his American first policy, and still he says how that will fit in the globalization, I think that would be interesting speak to listen to.
Is this a competition about different kinds of styles and ways of global governance between China and the United States?
I don't think so. I think the global governance is just one governance issue. So work together, corporations, and makes the transparency accountable. I think that's only when the whole world need one. And I would say that most of the country, most of the people in the world today support the globalization,
right,
not anti-globalization.
Having said that, though, Chinese President Xi Jinping, during his speech last year in Davos, it was a very widely welcomed speech, and yet he promised a lot. Many of the delegates this year, they would still remember those promises. How much has been realized so far?
Well, the big issue is the One Belt One Road initiative,
yes,
right? China held a big summit on May 14th last year in Beijing, and China continued to commit to support the One Belt One Road investments, infrastructures, financings. Also, more than that, the human change, the capacity building. I think that's a big issue. And China continued to open up. For example, China was going to hold the first world the import exhibitions in Shanghai, right? It never happened that since. It indicated China is willing to import more from the whole world, right? In the various occasions in Paris and climate change issues, in all issues, China stick on the globalization. I think that those are all the things as the consequence of Xi Jinping's talk last year here in Davos.
Remember, Mr. Zhu, because you frequent international conferences in recent decades, it was more than 13 years ago when China was being asked to be a responsible stakeholder by then Robert Zoellick. And now, 15 years later, things seem to have really changed that much. How do you see this transition of different roles that the countries are playing, particularly China's?
Well, China is the second largest economy in the world. I mean, it's very different. I mean, 13 years ago, China was still relatively small, right? So, I mean, obviously, China is one of the most important stakeholders for the whole world, right? And the Chinese economy play more and more important in the sense China contributed more than 35% of global GDP growth. And China tourists that go abroad also have a huge impact on the global growth and global demand. So in that sense, Chinese policy and Chinese position has a global impact. So that's a big change between 13 years ago and today. And more importantly, as President Xi Jinping mentioned last year, China stick on globalization and stick on opening up and stick on work with all the countries, everybody is equal. I think that those also make China stand out, become a one leading country in the global governance.
But some wonder whether it is slogans or actually real actions.
Well, as I said, you see the One Belt One Road initiative. You also those things that happen, and after Davos meetings. And recently, China's opened the whole financial sector. A lot of foreign capital companies to have 100% share ownership after 3 years, right? And it started with 51%. Which is quite a big open initiative.
You are also served on the board of the World Economic Forum, Mr. Zhu. So many wonder what is going to be the future of WEF, because earlier it is mainly the stakeholder, let's just say, from a post-Cold War period. But now things have changed so much. Different players have also been coming onto the scene. People wonder this time, is WEF, the World Economic, still relevant in a big way?
I think so. I mean, being the board member, actually, within the boardroom, we discuss a lot. What is the WEF's relevance, exactly you said. So actually, we convert.
Did you debate a lot?
Yeah. We convert ourselves into an international institution now. Our mission is to promote the global private and public sector cooperation. Our mission is improve global governance. So I think those issues will remain and will last forever, right? The private sector and public sector cooperation will be there today and will be there after 100 years. And improve the global governance issues, particularly in today's relevance. So I think WEF will continue to play the important role as a platform to bring the people together to talk, to debate, to get idea, and to draw the roadmap for the world to move forward.
But you don't see many presence of the tech companies, for example, those high-tech companies that seems to be having bigger impact than even some of the middle-sized countries these days that are that active here at the World Economic Forum. And what is going to be the relationship between the governments and these companies, as well as, let's just say, the consumers or the private citizens? That is a huge question mark.
Yeah, no, actually, I think the tech company has quite a big presence here, and all those big tech companies are here. So fourth industrial revolution is a big thing for the forum. I think that's number one. Number two, the forum obviously started in this place. It's very much to be criticized, European-centric, right? And the forum realized that. So we really outreach to the many different areas. For example, in China, we have a new campaign. It's a big issue. The forum have 3 huge events every year. Davos is annual meeting, new campaign and the meetings in China, and also the intellectual conference in Dubai. So you see, it's a very balance between Europe and the Middle East and Asia. So that reflects the position of the Web in the global situation.
Coming to China, finally, before we go, 2018 is going to be a big year. It is both the 40th Reform and Opening Up anniversary, and also first year for the 19th five-year plan. So how is China likely to do it? That is a big question, as many here in World Economic Forum are very interested in. What do you think, Professor Zhu, going to be the areas that people should really focus their attention on?
Well, I think the most important thing is the new blueprint emphasizes the quality, right? It's move on growth, the quality of the growth, more balanced, more sustainable growth. I think this is a fantastic blueprint. I think that's the key strategy. So in China today, the first issue, you don't have to look about 7% or beyond the 7% of GDP growth. The quality become more important. I think that's number one. And number two, challenges remain. In the financial sector, risk is still there, and debt ratio is still high, and overcapacity is still the issue, right? So you will continue to see the supply side reform to dealing with deleveraging, decapacities, so solve this potential risk. But also you will see innovation really pumped up, lead the future and the growth trends. So I think that those are the few things that you will see happen in China this year.
Professor Zhu Min, what a pleasure to see you once again. Have a great success in the World Economic Forum this year. Thank you.
Thank you
so much, sir.
Again. Yeah,
thank you.
Bye-bye.